Hi, fellow storytellers. My story today is about a mer king named King Poseidon. King Poseidon ruled over all the ocean. Everything that lived and grew under the ocean was under his domain. Everything from the stinging anemone to his mer people that served him. He was a kind mer king, and he always wanted his people to be cared for. Every oceanic month, the people paid taxes to the king so that he could use that currency, which they used as clamshells, so that he could keep the mer people healthy and fed. Most importantly, he also used this so that the mer kids could get the best education, so that he had intelligent and healthy mer people living with him. One day, the king put out a decree. The decree was that every mer person had to put their clamshells into a velvet purse. The reason for the velvet purse was because it was to protect the administrators, where every oceanic month, whenever they collected clamshells, sharks would come and snatch them away. They also used this decree to protect the administrators as well as the mer people. The only way to do this was to put them in velvet purses. The thing is, sharks don't like velvet purses because it feels like the humans up there feels like cotton candy in sharks' mouths. It's kind of like peanut butter for dogs. They love it, but it gets a bit much in their mouth. And they've got razor tooth sharp teeth. So they don't necessarily want to have tooth decay either. When the decree went out, the mer people started sewing up all their purses in order to put their clamshells into it. But sewing velvet under the water, massive undertaking. The king couldn't show the people how to do it because every person's velvet purse was going to be different. But him and the administrators did give the mer people the tools, gave them the thread, and taught them basic education on how to sew their velvet purses. Some of the people were really old and they couldn't understand the process. Some of them couldn't see very well, so it was difficult to sew the thread. Some of them, those rebels, didn't even care about paying taxes. So they were quite happy for the decree, and anyway, they found sewing velvet purses was a fruitless exercise in the first place. Over many months, the mer people had so many struggles, and they didn't know how to implement this new way of donating clamshells in order to pay their taxes. The king's advisors had to manage the mer people that didn't bring their clamshells in velvet bags. It was a difficult process. Some brought them, some didn't. They had to separate them. Each time they tried to explain why it was so important to put their clamshells into the velvet purses. With each passing month, the mer people became perplexed and totally frustrated. So what they did, they used to send many, many dolphin messages straight to the king, telling him of their perplexity. The reason they used to use dolphins was because they could talk and they were the fastest messengers at sea. The king himself became perplexed and frustrated because nobody understood the process. He needed to figure out a way for these people to get the clamshells into the velvet purses. The king had decided he had had enough. What he did, he put out another decree. He said whoever didn't put their clamshells into a velvet purse would not enjoy the benefits of that the kingdom provided, which was security and essentially peace of mind. The mer people retaliated against this decree, obviously, and they decided to meet in secret and say to the king that we won't pay our taxes if you don't retract your initial decree. Just let everything go back to the way it was. The decision was made, and the mer people retracted from paying their taxes. The sharks heard about this, and they were extremely happy about the distension in the kingdom. What they decided to do was to then go and rob the people every oceanic month. You know what they did? They set up a guerrilla operations team so that they could watch people every single month and then steal their clamshells. Imagine a guerrilla operation run by sharks under the sea. That's something to think about. Because of this, the kingdom had become ungovernable. The king was inundated with requests for protection from the sharks. The king felt so sorry for his people, and he decided that he was going to bring in the big guns. Well, okay, in this case, Big Trident, to come and help him. So what he did was he took out his magical conch and sounded a call to the Ocean Knight. The Ocean Knight was the most feared warrior in all of the ocean. He was a knight that had magical powers that could fend off any threat to the king or the kingdom. The Ocean Knight went to each person's house in the middle of the night, disguised as a old seahorse. He taught each of the mer people how to sew their velvet purses correctly, the right way, the professional way. As the days and nights progressed, the mer people became more and more adept at sewing velvet purses underwater. And they were very happy that they could go shopping now and not be worried about anybody snatching their clamshells. One of the more entrepreneurial mer people decided he was going to open up a velvet purse sewing school. Not to sew the purses, but to teach the other mer people who had a little bit of a problem or challenge or struggle in getting the concept. He was there to help them be better velvet purse sewers. One day, the sharks decided, also, enough is enough with this Ocean Knight, man. They said that they were going to pounce on the Ocean Knight and kill him. They didn't realize how powerful the Ocean Knight was. The Ocean Knight took his trident and swept it across the whole ocean and drove the sharks away to a distant land, all while he still knew that the sharks would be back. They're really resilient buggers. But the Ocean Knight had taught the people so well that he knew that even if he was long gone, the people's clamshells would still be safe because he had taught them how to sew velvet purses. The king thanked the Ocean Knight, sounded his conch again, and sent him back to his resting place so that he would be well rested for any other time that there was distension or danger in the kingdom. The king resumed his normal kingly duties. The land was safe, the people were happy, and so the king retracted his decree of no protection against his people. The people rejoiced at the fact that their king was such a forward-thinking king, and he was so kind and still cared for them so much. The end.